Here's another example to help you get a feel for the kind of thing I'm trying to get at here. Suppose that there's a vagrant who hangs out next to a big hospital. His name is Rufus. And he apparently doesn't have any friends, doesn't have any family. He just kind of hangs out, and he's a friendly enough guy, but no one knows him very well. And there's a doctor who works in the hospital. His name is Dr. Jones. He examines Rufus every once in a while. Perhaps now he comes in, Rufus now comes in for an infection on his hand, for example. And then Dr. Jones gets to thinking one day. Dr. Jones notices that there are 10 young prodigies at various parts in the hospital at this point, each of whom could be saved by, in one case, a donated liver, in another case, part of a lung, in another case, a skin graft, etc. Each of them is a prodigy. One is the most fantastic pianist Dr. Jones or anybody else had ever seen. Another one is a fantastic mathematician. Another one has an absolutely gorgeous voice, etc., for all the remaining of the 10 children. So each of these 10 children is in a situation in which they may very well die unless they get a missing organ or part of an organ, be it skin or liver or heart or lung, etc. And Dr. Jones begins to think, well, if I'm a utilitarian, and I think I am, if I could somehow ever so quietly euthanize Rufus in such a way as that no one finds out, maybe even I could take a pill that would cause me to forget that this ever happened after I do it, just to make sure that I don't have twinges of conscience after doing it. We euthanize Rufus. We harvest as many of his organs as we can. We give them to the children in need. We save 10 lives. Rufus was not doing much of anything anyway. He was kind of hanging out. No one's going to miss him much. And we could save 10 lives for lives of children that are very likely to produce great things, do wonderful things as they grow. Now, as a utilitarian, wouldn't it be an appropriate thing to do to ever so quietly euthanize Rufus and save those 10 children? Again, the utilitarian seems to say the right thing to do, so long as no one will find out, so long as Dr. Jones can be made to forget the experience of doing so, maybe he could do this himself even without any nurses being involved. Wouldn't the utilitarian be obliged to say, yes, Dr. Jones is not just allowed to, but is required to euthanize this vagrant because doing so will maximize overall utility? So that's what the theory says, but notice that as a just ordinary human being thinking about right and wrong, many of us will recoil at the idea that you could involuntarily take somebody's life from him in order to save somebody else's. It's a fairly deep principle inside of our moral psyches, as it were, that makes us think that somehow doing something like that would be immoral. But if that's right, then the utilitarian theory seems to be telling us to do something, at least in certain hypothetical cases, that would be an immoral thing to do. So again, this is an implication that, as it were, turns up the heat a little bit on the utilitarian theory, one that therefore I want you to reflect on to see again where you stand relative to a case like this.